Hello and welcome to Disney Travel Tales, a podcast that allows you to immerse yourself in someone's recent Disney trip. I'm Jenny, and I'm so happy to be here with you talking about my favorite thing, Disney trips. Join us every Friday as we explore the parks or cruise ships with a new guest and learn inside tips and tricks to hopefully help make your vacation go a little smoother. Make sure to subscribe to the show wherever you are listening so you never miss a new episode, and I would love it if you left a positive review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. This is the easiest way to support the podcast. Another way to support the podcast is to use me as your travel agent at no cost to you. Email me at jenny@trolleylanetravel.com. Let me do all the hard planning while you sit back and count down the days to your vacation. Okay, so let's get going with today's show. Hello, you are listening to episode number 89, and I am here talking all about my trip to Disneyland in California. Our trip was Saturday, September 2nd, and then we checked out on Tuesday, September 5th. But we only did a day and a half at the park. We went with some family friends of ours who are also our business partners. So it was 10 of us staying in a 3-bedroom connecting family suite at the Disneyland Hotel. We had a fantastic time. I'm so excited to come on here and share my trip tale with you. It has been a really long time since I visited Disneyland. The last time I was there was in 2016 in October. So I got to experience it during the fall. So I was excited to get back and visit it again during my favorite time to visit the parks, which is during the fall. I just love the Halloween season and I love all the fun Halloween decorations. But because it was such a large group of us, some of us love Disney, some of us don't, we decided to just do one full park day at the parks. But me and my son Aiden and my daughter Amelia, we went on Saturday later afternoon into the evening. So we got to have a day and a half at the park, which I was really glad that we had that little part because Sunday was quite the whirlwind. When you're at Disney with a lot of people, one thing I learned is you really don't get to do all the things that you think you are going to do. So yeah, I'm excited to share my trip tale with you. So let's just go ahead and start at the beginning. So if you listen back a couple of episodes, I did a pre-trip report. And in that, I said that I was going to do the mobile check-in for the hotel. I ended up doing that. And I put in they will ask you what time that you think you're going to arrive. Check-in isn't till 4 p.m., but I knew we were going to be there earlier. So I put that we were going to be arriving at 2 p.m. We arrived literally right, I think it was like 1:50 is when we were pulling into the parking lot. And around that time, I got a text that our room was ready. So it was perfect timing. We were in the Frontier Tower, which there are 3 towers at the Disneyland Hotel. I'm actually going to do a whole Disneyland Hotel review separately. I like to do these reviews for these resorts in a separate podcast, so they're easy for listeners to go ahead and grab if they want to listen. They want to stay at this one of the resorts. It's easy to find it in the podcast feed, and so I will go into lots of detail about the hotel later, but we stayed in the Frontier Tower. When we arrived, we were driving, so we decided to do self-parking. It was $35 a day. Valet parking was $65. So we just went ahead and did self-parking. The parking lot is literally right in front of the hotel. Like you don't have to walk far at all. And so we pulled up to the front. We unloaded our bags. One of the dads went and parked the car. We went inside the hotel. When you walk in, it's really beautiful. It's just the Disneyland Hotel is a very classic hotel. It's the, like original on-site hotel at Disneyland. And so I was really excited to be there. The family that was with us, Leah, she's the other mom. She loves Disney. They're actually from California and they grew up going to Disneyland. She loves Walt as much as I do. And so just kind of being in there in that history was really fun. While we waited for the dads, we went to they have 2 gift shops, a real big one and then kind of a mini one. We went into the mini gift shop and just kind of looked around a little bit. And right away, Asher wanted me to buy him Mickey hands, which if you knew Asher, he claims to not be a huge Disney fan. And we were not even on Disney property for 10 minutes and he was wanting Mickey hands. So we told him, you actually really are a Disney fan and you just don't know it. You're like a closet Disney fan. But we bought him the Mickey hands. And then I decided to go ahead and go to the front desk. It was super easy because it was kind of before check-in, so it wasn't busy. And because I had already gotten my room, I just asked for some key cards to our room so that all the adults could have a key card. We do have the option to unlock the door with the app, just like you can at Walt Disney World. But I also wanted to have that on-hand key card, especially if we needed to hand it off to one of the kids. So I went to the desk and I asked for that. They were super friendly, of course, as always, and they gave me the key cards. I also got some happy birthday buttons because we were celebrating Amelia's birthday and then Cameron's birthday and then Gentry's birthday. He's the other dad from the other family, and so they all had birthdays in the coming weeks, and so I got all of them birthday buttons. By the time I got done with that, I went over and met the whole crew at the gift shop. They were all there, and we walked over to our room. So like I said, we were in the Frontier Tower. We were behind the pool. As we're walking out, I noticed that the slides were closed, which I was so upset about because I had heard that the slides might be closed. I had looked online and people who had just stayed there said the slides were open. And so when I saw that the slides at the pool were closed, I was pretty bummed because that was one of the main reasons I wanted to stay at this hotel because we were going to have a resort day. And yeah, so that was kind of disappointing. One thing that I found that is different than Disney World is Disneyland hotels. They don't put a lot of their information out there on the internet. Like you can look up when all refurbishments at Disney World are going on. They let you know like ahead of time if pools are going to be closed, if any amenities at the hotel is going to be closed. You can pretty much just go to the Disney website and find that information. Disneyland was different. That information was not there because I did check it the day before and it wasn't there. I probably could have called in and asked, but when I didn't see it online, I just assumed that we would be able to use the pool, which the pool was still, part of the pool was still opened. It was just it was just made much smaller because the entire area around the slides was closed. They are still doing construction on the DVC tower. One thing I did notice while we were staying there is our room was closest to the DVC tower in that kind of corner over there. We never heard any construction noise. So these rooms are very, very well insulated. The construction did not bother us at all. And these towers look beautiful. They have a couple of suites. It only looked like 2. That are like floor to ceiling windows. I'm assuming these are kind of the larger 3-bedroom family suites in the DVC tower. They look absolutely gorgeous. Like Leah and I, we were thinking, we might need to like go in together as a family and, become DVC members and stay here because it was very, very nice. But yeah, so we went to our room and we checked in. The room was very nice. Again, I'll talk more about the room in the hotel overview, but we had 3 full rooms, a living room area kind of in between, and then like a kitchenette area. It was very, very nice. Like probably one of the nicest rooms I've ever stayed in at Disney. It had just that classic feel. The headboards had fireworks and music played when you pushed a button and kind of lit up. It was very, very special. Room was so spacious. Like we had 10 people there and we had tons of room. We definitely didn't feel crowded and it was just a very, very nice room. We kind of got into the room around 2-ish, a little after 2. Me, Aiden, and Amelia just went ahead and got ready because we were ready to get to the parks. I was so excited to be back at Disneyland and get to the parks. So we freshened up a little bit, changed clothes, and we just went off to the parks, the 3 of us. I will just kind of pause here and say that this trip was a huge learning experience for me. When originally I had wanted to walk through downtown Disney. So the Disneyland Hotel is at the back of downtown Disney. So downtown Disney is kind of like Disney Springs. You can walk through it and then you get to the entrances of both parks. And both parks are right across like a concourse from each other. So you can walk back and forth to each park. So Downtown Disney, Disneyland Park, and California Adventure Park are all right there together in walking distance. The Grand Californian Hotel is kind of attached to Downtown Disney and walks into California Adventure. Then the Disneyland Park is all the way at the very back of Downtown Disney. So when you leave, not Disneyland Park, Disneyland Hotel. So when you leave the Disneyland Hotel, you can walk across this it's a street, but they don't let cars on it. So it's like a walkway street. And there's security right there that will take you into Downtown Disney. And if you go in through there, that's the only time you have to go through security. You do not have to go through security again when you get to the parks, which is really nice. So at this time of day, there was really no one going through security. So we kind of just breezed right through security. And then you're kind of in Downtown Disney. There's a couple of shops to the right and to the left, but then there's the monorail station. So you can go ahead and if you have a park ticket, you can hop on the monorail right there. It was very, very close to the hotel. So Downtown Disney, when we first walked into it, looked a little bit busy. So I kind of looked at Aiden and I thought, I really wanted to go into the main entrance and see the pumpkins and kind of get that whole feeling of walking through the main gates for the first time. But I also just really want to get into the parks. And we had Genie Plus. You cannot schedule Genie Plus until your ticket has been scanned that you were there. And I was ready to start booking Genie Plus because I had checked on the app some of the times and I was assuming the park was really, really busy because at 3:00, some of the Genie Pluses were already gone for the day. One of the things I was really excited about visiting Disneyland is I heard how amazing Genie Plus was and no one uses it. And so you can just book back to back to back and go back to back to each ride. And we did not have that experience at all. And I think it's because the parks were so, so busy. At this time, I wasn't 100% sure, but I was thinking while I was looking at wait times and while I was looking at what was available at Genie Plus, that it was not going to be easy breezy like it is for a lot of people. So we just decided to go ahead and do the monorail. So we walked through the monorail station. It's really small. It's just a couple of ladies scanning tickets. They scanned our tickets. When they scan your tickets, they also take your picture. So they scanned our tickets. They took our picture. We walked up. The monorail was there and waiting. So we just hopped right on the monorail. This monorail is very, very different from the monorail at Florida. First of all, it does not have AC, I'm assuming, because they open all the windows. So it's just kind of a open air monorail. It was also, you could definitely tell when it was built because the ceilings were really, really short. Not me, but most of the people in my family are very tall. And so my son Aiden's around 6'1". He had to really bend down and kind of get down to get into the monorail. It was really funny. The seats also sit differently. So they have like sideways seats where you are sitting looking out the window. So we've got a really good seat sitting where we could look out the window as we went down the monorail. And that was when I went ahead and started getting our Genie Plus for the day. So at that time, I went ahead and grabbed us Big Thunder Mountain Railroad at 5:15. So it's around 3. It's like 3:30. And that was the first available lightning lane that I could get for us. And I thought, this is going to be interesting. So when you ride the monorail over to the parks, you kind of go over the parks and you get to see in the park. And it was really such a great view. You go in front of Disneyland. So we got to see the pumpkins and everything in the front. And then it takes you around back to kind of between Fantasyland and Tomorrowland. So we got off the monorail. It was a nice ride. It was a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be, but it was really great. It probably would have taken us longer just to walk through downtown Disney. So we got off the monorail right around where the submarine ride is. And yeah, the parks were really busy. It was wall-to-wall people. And I just kind of looked at my kids and I felt lost. Like I didn't even know what to do. Whenever I'm at Disney World, I feel like I kind of always know what to do. And no matter if it's busy or not, I know where to go. I was literally standing there and I'm like, I don't know what to do. One thing we were going to try to do, Amelia was not a huge coaster fan. But on this ride, she was like, I want to ride all the coasters. So we didn't want to do some rides that we were going to wait and do with Cameron and Asher later the next day. So Space Mountain is one of those. Space Mountain is Asher's favorite ride. And so I was like, we're just going to wait and do Space Mountain the next day when we're with Cameron and Asher, because this would have also been Amelia's first time to ride Space Mountain. So we were kind of just standing in Tomorrowland and we didn't know what to do. So I was like, okay, let's just go see the castle. So we walked through Tomorrowland, and when you're walking around the corner, coming around Astro Orbiter, there she is in all her glory. And she's so adorable and little and cute. And so it was so funny. Aiden was like, that's the castle, like the main castle. He did not remember from the last time we went, because he was so much younger, how small the castle is. And especially with us just being at Disney World in June, he remembered just how big that castle feels. And walking up to this castle, it was just kind of funny. So we took some pictures in front of it. I love Sleeping Beauty Castle. Again, I'm the biggest Walt fan, and just knowing
Hey parents, do your kids listen to podcasts? Do they like solving mysteries and flexing their imaginations? Mysteries at Riddleton Elementary is a new children's mystery podcast. Your kid can join Billy Bonanza and Susie Sockington on exciting and wacky adventures as they attempt to solve mysteries around their school. Mysteries at Riddleton Elementary is available now on all podcast platforms.
You know, that he had his hand in all the things at the original Disneyland and the castle and the building of it and what it looked like. It just really was kind of a special moment. And so we took some pictures, and I'm like, all right, we got this. We're going to make the most of the time that we have here. So after that, we kind of started walking over to Frontierland, and right kind of when you walk in, they have like a Coco Dia de los Muertos set up. Some Encanto stuff, and I think Miguel and Mirabel meets over there as well. And so we kind of walked, they weren't there at the time. We walked through it. It was beautiful. You know, being from Texas, we have a very large Hispanic culture here, and so we love it. Like, we love all the Dia de los Muertos, the cultural aspects of it. It kind of felt like being back at home, and so we really enjoyed walking through it. It was absolutely beautiful. After that, we kind of just kept walking down. I knew we needed to stay in this area because Big Thunder was over here. And even though this was probably around like 4 o'clock, we had time for our lightning lane, I looked at the wait times, and pretty much the wait time for every ride was long. So we walked over and saw Pirates, and I knew Pirates was a must-do on this trip because it's so different from the one at Disney World. It said it was a 20-minute wait. The line was so long, like wrapped around over a bridge. Aiden even looked at it and he's like, Mom, I don't even think that's the line. And I'm like, no, honey, that's the line. It was crazy long. But it would never stopped moving. And so I was like, let's go ahead and just try it out. You know, we have some time to spare. We have to write something at this point. So we got in line. It was like literally exactly a 20-minute wait. Even though the line felt really long, it moved the whole time. And just kind of being at a new park, or a park I haven't been to in a while, it was so fun to just look around and kind of take in all the aspects of it. Of course, this ride is so fantastic at Disneyland. So much better than at Disney World. Like, I feel like they did a huge disservice to the one at Disney World. I had forgotten how great this ride was, but when you get on the ride and you're kind of going in, and the Blue Bayou restaurant's right there, and you can see the people eating. Oh, and then it has 2 drops at the beginning. Like, this ride was fantastic. My kids loved it. And I don't know if they necessarily love the one at Disney World, but they really enjoyed this one. So once we got off that, we were ready for some treats. And again, if you listen to my pre-trip report show, I had a whole list of treats I was going to try on this trip. Let me just say right now, I did not hardly get to try the treats that I wanted to try because they were sold out because of the crowds. It was crazy. But we decided to go over to Pooh's Corner and get a couple of treats. I went ahead and mobile ordered the Tiger Tail Marshmallow Wand, the Mickey Bat marshmallow, or no, it was a Mickey Mummy marshmallow. And then Aiden got one of the seasonal cupcakes with like a foot of icing on it and all these decorations and stuff. So we walked past the Haunted Mansion. It had just gotten its Nightmare Before Christmas overlay. The wait was, I think, 100 minutes for that. All the lightning lanes were gone. But I was like, no worries. We're definitely riding this tomorrow. Like that will be the first lightning lane I get for tomorrow. So we walked by that. It just looks so cool. I just love that overlay on that ride. Walked back to Pooh's Corner. We got our treats. Mobile order was fantastic. I just don't understand why more people don't do it. We pretty much walked in. Our treats were ready for us. And we sat kind of outside over there. If you're not familiar with Disneyland, Pooh's Corner is kind of in the back. And so there was really not that many people there. It was really, really nice. So we took a little break and we ate our treats. The Tigger tail was so good. It's like a marshmallow wand with wrapped in caramel and then dipped in chocolate. Amelia got the mummy marshmallow. She liked that as well. It was kind of the same thing, except it didn't have the caramel. It was just like a marshmallow Mickey dipped in chocolate. It was really good. And Aiden enjoyed his cupcake. It was kind of just your regular run-of-the-mill chocolate cupcake with a ton of icing on it. We looked over and saw that the Winnie the Pooh ride looked a little bit different than the one at Disney World because of the way you kind of loaded it. And it was like in the woods. It was really neat. And it was a posted 5-minute wait. By the time we got over in line, the line had gotten a little bit longer, and so they changed it to a 10-minute wait. I think we waited 10 minutes. It was very, very quick. We got on that ride. That was a really cute ride. The only difference is you don't do the bouncing Tigger part, but we enjoyed it. We are huge Winnie the Pooh fans, and so that was really fun. We liked that as well. After we did that, we decided to go over to our Big Thunder lightning lane. So another thing I noticed is because most people do not use magic bands at Disneyland, everyone is scanning their phones. When you walk up to a lightning lane, it might appear that it's a very long line, but that's pretty much just people scanning their phones because once you get past that, the lines are typically not long. So we walk up to Big Thunder and I see this huge lightning lane line and I'm like, what the heck? I thought, all I heard about is how amazing Genie Plus is here, and this is not looking that amazing. But again, it was just because everyone was scanning just their phones to get in. And a lot of times, one person, we even did this in my family, I was in charge of scanning everyone's lightning lanes. And so it looks like a big pile of people piled up, but they're typically just waiting for their main party to scan all their lightning lanes. So the wait for that, the standby wait was 60 minutes and we pretty much walked on. I think we might have waited 5. We walked all the way to where you're about to load on the ride without stopping. And I loved this Big Thunder. It was so much better than Disney World, which I was surprised about. I did not realize that. It was longer. It was so smooth, did not have all the jerks and stuff that you usually get when you're at Disney World. It was different. It was a little bit different. It had a couple of different spots and yeah, we loved this ride. This was so much fun. So once we got off Big Thunder, Aiden was dying to go over to California Adventure because California Adventure has more thrill rides and he was wanting to go over there and just start doing those rides. Also, the Genie Plus was a little bit more available over there as well. After we rode Big Thunder, I could scan another Genie Plus and there was nothing. I don't think there was really anything available at Disneyland Park at this point. And so I just was like, okay, guess we're just going to go. So we walked through Fantasyland, which was so cute. The nostalgia of walking around Disneyland Park was so fantastic. I loved it. And it's all just a little bit cuter than Disney World, in my opinion. And so we walked over there through Fantasyland. We walked through the castle. I actually wanted to go in the castle, but my kids were like, we can do that tomorrow. I should have just done it because we did not do it tomorrow. But I was like, okay, that's fine. There was a line to actually go through the door to walk through the castle. And so we just walked through the middle of it, came out the other side. We did try to pull the sword out of the stone. None of us were successful. And then we just kind of walked down Main Street and we got to see the big Mickey pumpkin, which I could not wait to take a picture of us in front of the Mickey pumpkin. The line was a 2-hour wait to get your picture taken in front of the Mickey pumpkin. So obviously that was not something we were going to wait for. I kind of stood off to the side and waited for like the moment where no one, like the split second, no one was standing in front of it so I could take a picture of him. But it was very fleeting and I got like the back of some guy's head in it. But still, at least I kind of got a picture of him. But Main Street was so cute. And especially just having gone to Marceline this year and seeing where Walt's hometown and kind of this was like his, like perfect version of his hometown of Marceline. And that was really special as well. I really enjoyed that. We were so excited also when we got there that we saw people carrying around the Mickey skeleton popcorn bucket because that wasn't supposed to go on sale until September 5th. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's on sale. We're going to have to stop and get one. Yeah, they were sold out. The lady said they were sold out completely everywhere and they were not going to be getting any until September 5th again. So that was kind of a bummer because I was so excited to get that cute popcorn bucket that we did not get to get. So at this point, we left Disneyland Park. We hopped over to California Adventure, which probably one of my favorite things about the whole Disneyland Resort is how close everything is. We just walked right across the concourse. It was so nice. They had Oogie Boogie across the top. It was real spooky feeling, and we were really excited to go over there. I had grabbed us a lightning lane for the Incredicoaster, and so we were going to try to make our way back to that, and kind of that was going to be our first ride when we walked into California Adventure. So we got in and we start walking back. It was just decorated so fun. I absolutely loved it. I didn't remember this park a whole lot from our first trip. We did spend a lot of time over here, I remember, but there were just so many details that I didn't remember. Like I did not remember there's an actual trolley car that drives around. That was so fun. But yeah, so we kind of booked it back to the Incredicoaster, which is back on Pixar Pier, which is at pretty much the very back of the park. We saw the new San Francisco area, which we had kind of talked about grabbing dinner there for us that evening. It was very cool looking. My kids are huge Big Hero 6 fans, and so that was really neat. We got back to the Incredicoaster and scanned our lightning lane and pretty much walked on it. It was a 65-minute wait, and yeah, we pretty much just walked all the way to the back almost, maybe waited 5 minutes. Just kind of for our next car to come up. Amelia rode that sitting next to Aiden. This was her like big coaster that she was going to be very brave to ride. It was funny so it was just the three of us. And as we're walking up into the roller coaster, it's completely outside. So you see everything that you're getting yourself into. And she saw the loop and was like, Mom, you didn't tell me there was a loop. And I had kind of forgotten that there was a loop. So I said, yeah. I didn't. Do you still want to ride it? And she's like, yeah, but I'm really nervous. And I told her, you'll be fine. She's done Rock and Roller Coaster before, but she didn't like it. But I told her, you're going to be fine. I think it'll be better. And so she was really, really nervous. I was so proud of her. We rode it. This is such a fun coaster. It's really long for a coaster, which I appreciate. I hate when rides are too short. And when we got off, she said she really liked it and couldn't wait to ride it the next day. So that was super fun. Aiden was really wanting to ride Toy Story Mania, but the wait times for Toy Story Mania were insane. I think at one time it got up to 120 minutes, which I just could not believe. We were also wanting to ride the new Guardians, or it's not new. The Guardians ride over at California Adventure. It's new to us because it used to be Tower of Terror. And at night, they turned it into Monsters After Dark. Yeah, it had a 160-minute wait, and the lightning lanes were long gone for that. And so there was no way we were going to ride that. We just kept saying, we'll do that tomorrow. We'll do that tomorrow. So we went ahead and went over and did the Ferris wheel. We'd never rode the Ferris wheel before, and my kids wanted to do the swinging cars. And so That was only a posted 20-minute wait. While we were in line for that, I went ahead and grabbed us a lightning lane at Goofy's Sky Coaster or Sky School. It's another ride I don't think we rode. So I was excited to ride it. So we're in line for the Ferris wheel. Like I said, it was a posted 20-minute wait. We waited an hour. Like, that was such a mistake. At this point, I was like, oh, we should not be standing in this line to ride this ride. We're wasting so much time. But we rode it, and we rode the swinging cars. And in my opinion, it really was not that scary. Like, they just kept stopping the Ferris wheel so many times that we never really got up. We only had like one really big swing, which was fun. And because there were 3 of us, they filled the car. And so they put us with this group of 2. And it was like, I'm thinking they're teenagers. They looked really young. One of them was so scared. And so that was kind of fun riding with him because he'd be like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But it was fun. And you get some really great views of the park and kind of outside the park. So that was neat. But overall, I would not wait an hour for that ride. Absolutely not. So when we got off that ride, we checked Toy Story Mania again. It was, I think, 75 minutes at this point, and I told Aiden, no, there is no way I'm standing in line that long to ride that. We can always try to just get a lightning lane tomorrow for it. Pretty much all the rides on Pixar Pier were 30-minute or longer waits. The Inside Out little ride was a 30-minute wait. The swings were a 40-minute wait. The jumping jellyfish ride was like a 30-minute wait. And so at this point, I'm like, let's just go grab something to eat and then we can come back and use our lightning lane for Goofy's Sky School. So we decided to mobile order food over in the San Francisco area. Aiden actually did not want to order anything. He didn't see anything he liked. So as we were walking over there was like a poultry palace kind of I think it's a restaurant from one of the Toy Story movies. He just got like a box of chicken meal over there. So he grabbed that, and then we went over and saw the San Francisco area. It is beautiful. Like, it's so nice, but it was so crowded. So I'm so glad we mobile ordered because the line to get food was like wrapped outside of the building, like all the food places. The lines were so long. So we ended up I wanted to get the Baymax bread. I was so excited to try it. It was sold out. So we got a sourdough bread bowl filled with mac and cheese. Me and my daughter got that and we shared it, and it was very good, like so good. But the bad thing is after we got our food, we could not find anywhere to sit. All the tables were taken. So we kind of just had to stand there and wait for a table to open up before we could sit down and eat. I think we waited like 10 minutes, but we ended up getting a table and got to eat our food. It was so good. The bread, like the bread bowl it was in, was delicious itself. So that was like a nice kind of sitting break point. And we were looking at the wait times and kind of reassessing our day. So California Adventure closes at 10 p.m. At this point, it was like 7:40, so we didn't have a ton of time left. We had thought about, originally I wanted to go back to Disneyland Park because it stays open till midnight, but it was just so crowded, and I was looking at times over there, and the waits over there were so long. They were all over an hour. And so I kind of was like, let's just really maximize our time here, do as much as we can here, and then we'll just go back to the room and start over tomorrow. We'll have a do-over, praying that it might not be so crowded the next day. So over by Goofy's Sky School, they have another like Coco Dia de los Muertos area that we walked through. It's called the Plaza de la Familia. It's really beautiful. So especially at night, all the colors and the lights. So we took some pictures over there. We went and we did our lightning lane for Goofy's Sky School after that. That was a 40-minute wait. And with the lightning lane, it was a complete walk-on. That ride is so hilarious. I loved that ride. You're in this teeny tiny little car, and it's like a mini, it's even more than a mini roller coaster. So you like go up and you're kind of high and you're like taking these really sharp turns where you like literally feel like you could just fly off the edge because this car is so, so tiny, and it seats 4, but it's tiny. And then you're up and down like these little hills. It was so much fun. Like all 3 of us loved this ride, and we could not wait to take Asher and Cameron on this ride. But unfortunately, while we were there Sunday, it was broke almost the whole evening. Like they closed it. So that was such a bummer because we just really enjoyed this ride. So after we got off of that, we decided to go over to Cars Land and just kind of check it out. Cars Land is always so pretty at night with all the lights. It was so cute. I love the way they have it decorated for Halloween. The Cozy Cone Motel, they have the big cones with kind of like scary pumpkin faces on it. It was fantastic. Just the whole area is totally themed for Halloween. We really enjoyed walking around and looking at it. We didn't ride anything over there. The wait times were pretty long, and we knew we were just going to wait and purchase a lightning lane for Radiator Springs the next day. Radiator Springs Racers the next day. So we just kind of walked through and enjoyed it. Then we finally made our way over to Avengers Campus. Aiden is a huge Avengers fan and Marvel in general. And so we were excited to finally make it over here. And it looks beautiful at night. I have to say, if you have a chance to visit Avengers Campus at night, do it because it is spectacular. Doctor Strange was out meeting people, Loki was out meeting people, and that was all really cool. Also on the Guardians Tower, they have like lightning going up it and just bright purples and blues and kind of these deep colors. And the sky was kind of really neat looking. It was overcast and dark. And so I got some really cool pictures where it just looks a little bit spooky. The wait time for Guardians was still 160 minutes. Like I cannot imagine waiting that long in line for anything. That was crazy. It was so, so long. So we decided to just go over and get in line for Web Slingers. And we were thinking going to be our last ride of the day. I did look at Genie Plus and ended up grabbing us a Monsters Inc. Lightning Lane at 9:40. So kind of right before we were going to, or 9:30. So right before the park was going to close. So we decided to go hop in line for Web Slingers. It was a posted 45-minute wait. I was like, let's just do it. Let's just wait in line. The ride ended up breaking after we were in line for about 15 minutes. I noticed we weren't moving. And this is another thing I noticed at Disneyland. They don't tell you when the ride is down. Where at Disney World, they will tell you, the ride is down. They kind of never said anything, and we're standing there, and for about 10 minutes, we did not move. And so I told Aiden, the ride is down. Like, there's no reason we wouldn't be moving. And we had looked over at the Lightning Lane line, and it wasn't even that long, so it's not like it was being backed up by that. Finally, about another 10 minutes, like 20 minutes after just standing there, they came on and said the ride was down. A lot of people ended up getting out of line. We kind of looked at each other, and I'm like, we have nothing else to ride. The wait times are so long, and our Monsters Inc. Lightning Lane wasn't until later, and so we might as well just stay here and wait it out. Which we did, and I'm glad we did because we got a little bit of pixie dust while we were on this ride. So after everyone got out of line, it was probably another 15-20 minutes that the ride came back up, but we were almost at the front at this point because so many people had gotten out of line. So we get in, and there's like a room where they take you into a pre-show. So they put us all in this room, and like the pre-show won't ever start. And so we're standing there and we're waiting. And I'm like, oh no, the ride broke again. So then they pull us all out, and they're like, okay, come over to this other room, because they had 2 rooms. And they're like, that room, it's not working for some reason. The door won't close. And so we get over to the next room, and we get to see the pre-show, which was really cute. And then Web Slingers is kind of like a Toy Story Mania type ride. Like, you're competing with each other for a points. Like, this time you're like capturing spiders, like robot spiders. But yeah, so then after the pre-show, we go down and we get on the ride and we ride it, and it's so much fun. But let me tell you, this ride is going to make your arms so sore. Like, it's a workout. And especially if you're competitive, like we are a very competitive family, and we were going all out. And my daughter beat us. Like, she beat me and Aiden, which I later learned I think it's because our arms are so little and they're not as long as mine and Aiden's arms. I actually even beat Aiden, which is crazy because I never beat him at games like this. So I think the longer your arms are, if you do long arm movements because you're like throwing webs at a screen, the lower your score is going to be. You need like short little movements to get a higher score. But it was so much fun. We absolutely loved it. So we're going to get off of Web Slingers, and I noticed there's no one in line. Like, there's no one in the building right there. And there had been a pretty long line. And the lady's like, if you want to ride again, you can just go ride it again. Go tell the attendant. So we got off the ride and we walked right next to where the line is, and we got to ride it again. And I think the shows were down, like the pre-show wasn't working. And so instead of just having an idle ride, they were just letting only our group rewrite it one more time, which was fun. So we got to do it twice in a row. And yeah, by the end of the second time, I was literally barely moving my arms because they were so tired. I was just kind of wimpily moving them. But it was really fun. We had so much fun riding this ride, and we really enjoyed it. So we got off that ride. We went into a couple of gift shops over in Avengers Campus. We walked by Guardians, and the line was still really long. Even the Lightning Lane line was long, so I kind of am thinking at this point the ride went down. We just kind of kept walking along over to the Monsters Inc. ride, which we got there and did our Lightning Lane. It was a 25-minute wait. We walked right on with the Lightning Lane. I just think this ride is so cute. Monsters Inc. has a lot of nostalgia for me because my boys loved it so much when they were younger. So this was just a cute little fun slow ride. Amelia really enjoyed it. It was she'd rode it before but didn't remember it, and so she enjoyed it. And after we got off that, it was around 10 o'clock, and so the park was closing. So I guess it was right before 10 because we got off Monsters Inc. and then there was this huge like Avengers Superstore, kind of back in a weird spot, like almost like a black building. You didn't really even see it, but I said, I think that's a store, Aiden. So we went over in it, and they had like an Iron Man. It was a huge kind of warehouse style store full of Avengers stuff. They had an actual like Iron Man costume that you can buy for almost $9,000. It was very cool, but I have no idea if anyone will ever actually buy it. They had some props from other movies. They had this giant rocket statue all lit up from one of the new Marvel movies that's coming out. Tons and tons of merchandise, like really neat stuff as well, stuff I'd never seen before. So we just kind of walked around. We didn't buy anything. But then after that, yeah, we just decided to go ahead and leave. We were tired. Some of the other people in our group had gone to a Dodgers game. Like Cameron and Asher and Gentry and his son had gone to a Dodgers game. So I'm texting them, and they were getting close to being home. And so I was like, we might as well go back to the room and kind of meet everyone. So we did. We walked back to the room. Walking through downtown Disney at this time of night was insane. It was so packed, and they're doing a lot of construction there as well in this one kind of part. And so it gets down really small. So where the people have to actually walk is like a narrow kind of area. And it was so crowded. Like we were walking very slow, just wall to wall people. I had thought about going into the World of Disney, but it was so crowded. I just said, we have a rest day. We'll just kind of come back down to downtown Disney on that day and enjoy it then. But yeah, we made it back to the room. It's just, again, one of my favorite things about Disneyland is being able to walk everywhere, being able to walk from each park, park to park, to downtown Disney, to your resort if you're staying at one of the Disney hotels. And all the offsite hotels, a lot of them are really close in walking distance as well. I enjoyed staying in that Disney bubble. Disneyland definitely has a different feel than Disney World. Like Aiden and I were talking about this. You don't have that like all-inclusive feel. Like when we get to a resort at Disney World, you immediately, stepping out of your transportation, you can feel that you're in the Disney bubble. Even though we stayed at the Disneyland Hotel, it didn't necessarily feel like that. And it's because the real world is right there. Like outside our room, Cameron and I's personal room that we stayed in had a view of the pool, which was fantastic. But the other rooms, you like look out their window and it's like a neighborhood. So you're very aware the whole time you're at Disneyland that it's just a park in the middle of a city. It's not its own Disney bubble. It's not its own world. So I do recommend, if you can, to stay at one of the Disney hotels because it will just add a little bit of extra magic. But yeah, so we got back to our room, I think around 10:40 that night, and we just went to sleep. We were tired, and I was wanting to wake up early the next day. When you stay at a Disneyland hotel, you have a 30-minute extra magic hours from 7:30 to 8. We were really tired, and I was talking with Leah, and she was like, my family, there's no way they're waking up that early. And Cameron and Asher were like, no, we don't want to wake up that early. And so Aiden and Amelia were like, we'll go early with you, Mom. And then Leah wanted to go early, and her and I had the Walt's Main Street Story Tour at 9 the next morning. So I had wanted to get to the parks like around 8, so we had a little bit of time before our tour. But ultimately, I knew it was going to be a long day, and I just wanted everyone to be happy and have a great day. And Aiden was like, Mom, can we just sleep in a little bit? Like, instead of waking up at 6:30, can we just wake up at 7:30? And I was like, sounds good to me. So that was our plan, we weren't going to take advantage of the extra time that we were going to have as only resort guests. But our plan was to get there fairly early. When was the last time you visited a Disney park? For many adults, it's been a really long time. I would love to help you fix that situation. As a travel agent specializing in Disney, my job is to make sure your vacation can go as seamless as possible. All of my services are complimentary to my clients. Yes, you heard that right. I'm free to you. These services include helping you from the start finding the perfect resort to fit your needs, handling all the bookings and reservations, helping to teach you about the parks, because if it's been a while, man, have they changed. I have insider tips and tricks I share with all of my clients, and I will be your single point of contact throughout your entire trip, even while you are there. Don't wait another year to visit a Disney park or go on a Disney cruise. Let this be the year you finally go. Email me at jenny@trolleylanetravel.com to get the conversation started, or see the link in the show notes to fill out my quote form. All listeners that book a trip with me will receive a $20 gift card to use on their trip. Just make sure you say you heard this on the podcast. Okay, now back to the show. So our full park day was Sunday, September 3rd, and I ended up waking up around 6:30 just because I was so excited to go to the park. So I decided to get up, go ahead and get dressed, and then I went and I woke up Aiden and Amelia. Then I decided, I was just trying to think about how the day was going to go. And so I decided to go ahead and mobile order us breakfast from the quick service restaurant at the Disneyland Hotel. So I went to my app and to go and do that, but the mobile ordering wasn't working. So I just went ahead and went to the restaurant and ordered our food. It was called Tango Terrace. But yeah, so I got an acai bowl for me and Leah, and then I got Amelia. It was like a Japanese style pancake. And then I got Aiden just like a lemon pound cake slice, and some coffees, and went ahead, picked that up, took those back to the room. By the time I got back to the room, Aiden and Amelia they were dressed, and I had texted Leah and let her know that we were ready, to go whenever she was ready, and that I had gotten us breakfast. So she came out of her room when she was done. We ate breakfast real quick, and we headed to the parks. It was probably about 10 till 8 when we left our room, and the original plan was to just go to the entrance of Disneyland Resort, but already there was a huge line to go through security just to get into downtown Disney. And so I was like, let's just go ahead and do the monorail, because there was no one in line for the monorail at that time. So we scanned our tickets, hopped on the monorail, and off to the parks we went. Even though the line for security was kind of long, we ended up getting to the parks pretty early. I think it was like 8:15. It did not take long at all. Aiden and Amelia decided they were just going to kind of go off on their own. I had put the app on Aiden's phone and signed into my account so he could look at wait times and stuff. I had told them not to use their Genie Plus because I was kind of saving that for when everyone was together. While we were on the monorail, me and Leah went ahead and got Lightning Lane for Haunted Mansion at 11:30. So with Disneyland Park, all of the tickets have to be scanned that you are in the park to get a Lightning Lane. So at that time, I could only grab a Lightning Lane for me, Aiden, and Amelia, and Leah could only grab one for herself and her party. But our plan was to go find a guest service booth and see if we could add the rest of our group whenever they went ahead and scanned into the park. So because I had got us a Lightning Lane, Aiden and Amelia weren't going to be able to use Genie Plus. So we were kind of looking at wait times. She really wanted to go over to Toontown and ride Roger Rabbit, the Gadget Coaster, and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and the wait times were really low, so that was what they were going to do. So once we got off the monorail, they just kind of zipped off over to Toontown. We were supposed to check into our tour, our Walt's Main Street Story Tour, started at 9, and we were supposed to check in like 15-20 minutes early. So we just started walking over to Main Street. You know, we weren't in any hurry. We decided to stop at the Starbucks on Main Street and get a coffee. The line was decently long. I actually looked, and I think we stood in line for like 20 minutes. So Leah went ahead and finished our order, and I went to go check us in for our tour. So the check-in spot for the tour is actually at the entrance to Disneyland. It's right by City Hall. And so I walked over there. I got us checked in. I'm going to do a whole podcast about this special tour. This was such a fantastic experience. And if you are a big fan of Disney history, if you're a big fan of Walt, I just highly recommend this tour. It was so great. So stay tuned for that episode. It is to come. The tour itself is 90 minutes. And so I had told Cameron the night before for him and Asher to kind of meet us at the parks around 10:30 because that's when we were going to be done. And I told them to come through the main entrance at Disneyland. I figured at that point, it might not be hard to get in since it's not, right when the park was opening. And when him and I had talked about it, I had kind of just assumed that Leah's family would be with them as well. So I get a text from Cameron about 10:15, and he says, we're walking into Disneyland Park. And at that point, so part of the Walt's Main Street Story Tour, that's so hard to say. Part of the tour is, the main part of the tour is going into Walt's apartment. Walt had his own apartment at Disneyland, and it was above the fire station. And so that's kind of the main part of the tour. Well, at this point, at the end of the tour, you go out onto the balcony. So I'm standing on the balcony, and I'm looking over at Main Street, and I see Asher and Cameron walk in, and I was all excited to see them. And then I'm like, where's the rest of our group? And so I'm texting him, and I'm like, where is the rest of the group? And he's like, oh, they're still, some of them are still sleeping, and they're still getting ready. And the Disney planner in me was a little bit stressed. I was like, no, this is not this was not how I planned our day to go. And I just was kind of like, shoot, I'm going to have to really adjust plans because my original plan was to try to get on a ride before we went over to Haunted Mansion for our Lightning Lane. But now that our whole group wasn't even going to be together, I was like, shoot, what are we going to do? So I was talking to Leah. She's texting her family. They're just kind of moving real slow. She told them to, get ready to go ahead and go over to the monorail and come into the park that way because it would be quicker. And also around this time the tour is ending. So we get done and we go down to Main Street, and I'm kind of telling Cameron and Asher about the tour and stuff. And I go ahead and I'm texting Aiden, and I'm like, where are you and Amelia? And he's like, we're in line for Millennium Falcon. And I said, okay, how long do you think you're going to be in line for? Because we're kind of ready to go do something. And he said, I have no idea because that said a 20-minute wait and we've already been waiting 40 minutes. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Like at this point, I'm like, all my plans are just going out the window. Like this morning is not going at all like I wanted to, because what I kind of hoped would happen is I would get there early. I would ride some rides before our tour and then ride some rides, just kind of start right after the tour and start riding rides and meet everyone. But obviously that's not how our day was going to go. So I'm looking at wait times. At this point, it's close to 11. All the wait times are long. Like they are 30 minutes and above. A lot of the rides in Fantasyland were down. Like Mr. Toad's was down. The Alice ride was down. So these rides that were rides that I really wanted to ride because they're unique to Disneyland, they weren't even running at the time. So again, I'm feeling a little bit defeated, but I'm just like, we're going to pick it up. We're going to make the best of this. So we decided to just go over to Haunted Mansion to find a guest service tent and to try to get the rest of our group on our lightning lanes. So we had told Gentry, we had texted him and said, meet us by Haunted Mansion. And I had told Aiden, come to Haunted Mansion as soon as you get off your ride. Which they ended up waiting over an hour for Millennium Falcon, which we kind of actually found with Disneyland was a little bit different than Disney World. So a lot of times at Disney World, the wait times are inflated. So you don't actually wait as long as it says for the ride. But at Disneyland, there were multiple times we were waiting longer than it said. So those ride times weren't really super accurate all the time. So we go over to Haunted Mansion. At this point, it's already a 120-minute wait for this ride. I was so glad I got us lightning lanes for it. We found a guest service tent, and I thought it would be easy to just add them to our, Genie Plus selection. But it actually wasn't. The guy said, oh, this is a really popular Genie Plus selection right now. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to add them. And we were just like, what? Like, we have to add them. They're in our group. So he kind of worked some Disney magic for us. He was very awesome. Like, he was so fun to talk to. He was such a great guy. And so he ended up adding them for us, but he was like, I kind of recommend y'all don't, do this again today because the parks are really busy. So we were kind of talking to him a little bit about like, why are the parks so busy? And he's just said, it's the first weekend of Halloween. And whenever it's the first weekend of a holiday decorations, the park is always crazy packed. And so I know in the past, I'm pretty sure at Labor Day, Disneyland doesn't always have their Halloween decorations up. I have a friend who went a couple of years ago for Labor Day, and there was like nobody there, and they had a great trip. But I just think the timing with the Halloween being set out and everything, and the parks were absolutely insane. So we ended up meeting everyone right around 11:30. Aiden and Amelia, they were the last ones to make it over. And around this time as well, we decided to go ahead and purchase a lightning lane for Rise of the Resistance for 12. So we were hoping to kind of run over there right after we got off Haunted Mansion. So we went and checked in for Haunted Mansion. After that, we went ahead and grabbed a lightning lane for Big Thunder Railroad at 12:30. Haunted Mansion, like I said, was a 120-minute standby at this point in the day. And I think we waited like 20-30 minutes. There was a point while we were waiting in line that the line just completely stopped moving. And I'm assuming the ride went down for some reason, or there was some difficulty loading on and off. But I think the line would have been shorter for us if the ride hadn't gone down, because there was a good 10 minutes that no one was moving. But yeah, so we got to do Haunted Mansion with the Nightmare Before Christmas layover. This was so fantastic. I've done this version before over here at Disneyland. It's actually the only version of Haunted Mansion I've ever done at Disneyland, but I did not remember it being as amazing as it was. It was so fantastic. They literally completely redo the whole ride to make it Nightmare Before Christmas. My kids are not huge fans of this movie, but they loved this version of Haunted Mansion more than the original version. It was just really fun. I'm going to put a lot of videos that I took on Instagram, so go over and make sure you see that. If you have a chance to do this, I highly recommend doing it. It was completely worth it. I don't know if I would wait 2 hours for it, but I do think it's worth a longer wait. It was really, really cool. Also, over in this area is where the new Tiana's Place restaurant is opening. And so you could see it. It was not open when we were there, but you could see it and it looks absolutely beautiful. Like, I am so excited to go back and visit that one day. So after we got off Haunted Mansion, we went over to Galaxy's Edge and we rode Rise of the Resistance. It had, I think, a 50-minute standby wait, and we pretty much just walked right on. This was the first time for some members of our friend's family to ride this, and we got to be in a different car than them. And one of my favorite parts of our whole trip was watching them ride it in that car because they just were so excited and surprised. And this was a great ride. We really enjoyed it. After that, we went and got the black coffee, the cold brew coffee at Docking Bay 7, and it was okay. Like, I have heard so much about this coffee. I wanted to try it so bad. I was really excited to try it, and it was fine. Like, it wasn't like this amazing coffee. I guess I had imagined it to be just from the way people talk about it, but it was fine. I did a mobile order for it, and it was pretty much like a pickup window right away, so we didn't have to wait long for that. When we left there, we saw Ahsoka, which I was very excited to see. We have been watching the show, and I'm a huge Ahsoka fan, so I stopped. Me and Amelia got pictures with her. She was very serious. Like, there was no smiling. She was down to business, and she was very serious, and it was so much fun. We also saw a group of stormtroopers walking around, and they meant business for sure. So after Galaxy's Edge, a lot of people in our group were also getting hungry for lunch. And so we decided to mobile order some food, ride Big Thunder, and go grab our food. Now, when you are with a big group of people, 10 people, especially with a lot of kids, everyone's going to want to eat different things. And so Cameron and I and our friend's family, we all decided to mobile order from Bengal Barbecue. And then I had to do a separate order for 2 of my kids who are extremely picky eaters, and I had to order them food from Galactic Grill. So we did 2 mobile orders at that time, and then while we were waiting in line for Big Thunder. So we checked into Big Thunder. It was a 45-minute standby wait. It practically walked on again, like maybe 10 minutes or less. It was pretty quick. We walked all the way back to where they load the seats pretty much. And we all got to ride this. This was another huge hit. Like, I loved it. You know, the people who hadn't rode it before in our group loved it. We got off that, and then that's when we decided to split up. I told Cameron to go pick up our food at Bengal Barbecue and grab a seat somewhere with the kids. And then me and Asher went over to Galactic Grill and grabbed that food, and then took it back over to Adventureland to meet everyone else so we could all sit down together to eat. So after the mobile ordering at Disneyland was super easy. Like, you just kind of say, I always, like, as I'm walking to the restaurant, I always say I'm here, prepare my order. And usually by the time I get there, it is ready. So I just walk up and grab it, which has always been a good strategy and worked well for me. So Asher and I grabbed their food, and then we walked back over, and Aiden had grabbed some seats. There's where the Enchanted Tiki room is. They have like some seating around it, and so we ended up getting a seat on the terrace over there. It was really great seating. We were sitting kind of high up above Adventureland, where you could kind of look and see, you know, great people watching, see people walking around, really get a great view of Adventureland. It was super cool. So from Bengal Barbecue, I got the Bengal rice plate, which came with 2 types of skewers, and I got the chicken skewer and the Outback vegetable skewer, and then it came with some rice and slaw. My food was really good. I didn't love the vegetable skewer. It was like zucchini and mushrooms. So it just felt, the chicken was absolutely delicious. It was kind of in a Polynesian sauce. I wish I would have just got two of those because the vegetables were really chunky and not totally cooked great. I still ate all of it because I was hungry. But looking back, I would have definitely just gone with the chicken because the chicken was absolutely delicious. I ended up getting Aiden just one of the beef skewers and a chicken skewer. He loved both of them. He thought they were great. Cameron got the Bengal rice plate as well, and he got the Banyan beef skewer, which is a hot and spicy beef one, and then just the regular beef one, which just kind of comes with a sweet sauce. His food was great. He loved it, but it was not enough food. So definitely keep that in mind. For like, if you have a big eater in your group, this plate is probably not going to be enough food for them. Looking back, I would have ordered him a couple of extra skewers as well. But overall, we loved this. Was a great quick service option. Over at Galactic Grill, I got my daughter Amelia just a cheeseburger and fries. She said it was delicious. And Asher got chicken tenders and fries. And again, he said it was delicious as well. I had forgot to mention that after we checked into Big Thunder, we went ahead and grabbed a lightning lane for later in the evening to ride the Monsters in the Dark Guardians version. It wasn't until 6:30, but yeah, it was like 12:30 in the afternoon, and already that lightning lane was at 6:30. So I was actually really excited that I got to grab that. After lunch, we all kind of split up a little bit. A couple of members from our friend's family, one of the kids had to go back and do a math quiz online for school. And so Gentry and his son, they went back to the room. Leah and her youngest son decided to go to the Tiki room and then go over to Galaxy's Edge. And he ended up building a droid, which was really fun for them. And my crew, and then their daughter decided to go over to ride Space Mountain. This is Asher's favorite ride at Disney World. And pretty much when he got to the parks, he was like, Mom, we have to ride Space Mountain. Like, let's go ride Space Mountain. Let's go ride Space Mountain. It was posted a 60-minute wait, but because I had gone ahead and grabbed us the Guardians Lightning Lane, there was no way that we were going to get a Lightning Lane for this anytime soon. And so I was like, let's just go stand in line. We have some time with, part of our party going and doing different things. We might as well just go stand in line. So we walked over to Space Mountain and we got in line. And this line is so different than Disney World. It was really interesting. And it's also funny to me when you're at a new park, a park that you're not familiar with, when you're standing in line, you have really no idea how close you are to the ride. So when we're at like Space Mountain and Disney World, I know, depending on where we're standing, about how long the wait is going to be. But this ride, the line was so different, and you're outside for a lot of it, and you're walking in these just like giant buildings that I don't really even know the purpose of them, but to just be a place to stand in line. We decided to go ahead and play Heads Up. This is definitely our go-to, and I highly recommend it. It was so much fun. The people around us were kind of watching and laughing along as we were playing it, and it was so much fun. They have like a Disney Parks Heads Up version, which we pretty much killed it. We were really good at that one. But anyways, we had a good time standing in line. It ended up being about a 45-minute wait, so we were happy about that because it was shorter than we thought it was going to be. And I don't know how, but this Space Mountain is better than the one in Disney World. It is much smoother. I love the fact that you get to sit next to each other. I actually prefer that than just sitting in single seats. Just the whole, everything about this ride I liked better. I do prefer the queue at Disney World. I just think it's more of that retro futuristic than this one was. And this one gets very, very narrow once you get closer to where you're going to board on the ride. Almost like you're in a tunnel. And it was very tight, because we were, waiting with so many people. And so that wasn't great. But we all loved this ride. This was Amelia's first time to ride Space Mountain, and she absolutely loved it. She wasn't scared at all. And this was a great, great ride. We loved it. So around this time, it was, I think, getting close to 4 o'clock. We decided to just go over and hop over to California Adventure. The first chance that we got when our Lightning Lane came back up for us to grab a new one, we grabbed one for the Incredicoaster at 4:30. So we just kind of started walking towards Main Street at around this time as well. Yeah, it was around 3:30 because the people were starting to really line up to wait for the parade, which I never got to see the Magic Happens parade. I was actually kind of bummed about that. But when I was planning this trip, this was the first time I've ever traveled with such a big group. And I was not prepared for just what that entails and all the different personalities and all the different things that people want to do. And so kind of sitting and waiting for a parade, only a couple of us might have really wanted to do. And instead of stressing about that, I just decided to go with the flow. It's just a parade. Even though I really wanted to see it, it just wasn't going to happen on this trip. We stopped and got a corn dog at the corn dog cart. It was really good. We stopped again at Starbucks and we got some drinks. I just also want to add the weather was really nice. It was, high 70s, low 80s, which we're from Texas where it is currently 105. So it felt extremely refreshing to us. Like we loved it. Even when it got warm for, like the sun beaming down and got kind of warm, it still was like fine. It was not hot ever. The only time it felt kind of hot is when you were kind of walking within the crowd. But other than that, it just felt so nice outside. It was fantastic. So if you ever want to visit a Disney park in the fall and you don't want to melt like you do in Florida, Disneyland is the park for you. So after we grabbed our drinks, we met up with Leah and her youngest and started heading over to California Adventure. As we were walking out, I really thought about, stopping at the Big Pumpkin and getting a picture. But again, the line was, they were saying a 2-hour wait for a picture with the pumpkin, that was not going to happen. As we're also walking out, we saw all the cute characters in their Halloween outfits. We saw Mickey, Minnie, Goofy was out, Daisy was out, Clarabelle was out, and they looked so adorable, like just so cute. So we made our way over to California Adventure, and we kind of just slowly walked through. We stopped over in Avengers Campus because the Star Wars show, the Spider-Man show, the last one for the day was about to go. So we grabbed a spot and waited for that. And then Gentry and his other son met us there. And so we were all back together as a big group. We watched the Spider-Man little performance. It's really cute. If your kids or if you're a Spider-Man fan, you would really enjoy it. After that, we made our way over to Pixar Pier so we could ride the Incredicoaster. We walked through San Francisco, which again was completely packed, like crazy crowded. We got to see Baymax from afar because the wait was really long to meet him as well. But he was cute. And then we made it back to the Incredicoaster to use our Genie Plus. The standby wait was 60 minutes. I feel like every ride at this point just said 60 minutes or higher. Like, I don't even know if that's accurate or at all because I don't know how like every ride could be 60 minutes, but it was 60 minutes. And for us, I think it was like 10 minutes. It was very quick that we got on and we all rode it, all 10 of us, and we all loved it. This is such a fun ride. After we had checked into our Genie Plus for Incredicoaster, we went ahead and grabbed another Genie Plus selection, and this time we got it for Web Slingers, and this was going to be at 9:30 that evening. So pretty much at this point, like our Genie Plus selections, we weren't going to be able to use them because we had this one, and then we had the Guardians, and then Web Slingers, and so I just thought that we would be able to use the Genie Plus a little bit better while we were at Disneyland because that's what I had heard from everyone. But our experience was not the case. Aiden really wanted to ride Toy Story Mania and those Genie Pluses were gone. Like earlier in the day, completely gone. And that ride was a 75-minute wait at this point. And so I just told him, maybe that's the last ride we're going to do for the day, but we are not going to go over there and stand in line for 75 minutes for Toy Story Mania. So after the Incredicoaster, we once again were getting a little bit hungry. So we decided to just kind of walk back over to San Francisco. The guys grabbed a couple of beers over there from the cantina area. Oh, and I almost forgot. When we were in line for Incredicoaster, we went ahead and bought individual lightning lanes for Radiator Springs racers. So after we walked through San Francisco, we walked over to Cars Land and checked it out a little bit. Then we went over to Radiator Springs Racer because it was time for our lightning lane over there. The standby wait, I'm pretty sure was it was over 100 minutes. And we waited probably 20 minutes for it. That queue is so cute, just kind of walking in it. We loved it and it was really fun. And this ride is so much fun. We had rode this last time we came, but I did not remember it being so detailed. You're like in a car in Radiator Springs. You drive through this building where you see all the cars close up. It's just so detailed and you're really in the story. And then at the end of it, you're racing another car. The car so Asher sat in the quote unquote driver's seat. He was wearing his Mickey gloves and he was acting like he was driving. He was very funny. And then the car we were racing was, acting like they were driving. And so it was funny. It was so much fun. And we ended up winning. Yay. But after we got off that, this is when everyone was starting to get hungry and wanting to eat. We had looked at, mobile ordering options. No one was really feeling it. And Cameron had mentioned that he passed a craft beer and burger place in downtown Disney that you didn't have to have a reservation for. You just kind of had to stand in line for. So our plan was to go over and do our Guardians Lightning Lane and then to go over and have dinner before we came back and did our Web Slingers because that wasn't until 9:30. So we would kind of have a nice break. And the park was so, so busy. It was we were all kind of like, we need to kind of get out of here and have a little bit of a break. So we went over to our Guardians and that wait was 120 minutes. The Lightning Lane line was very, very long. I'm pretty convinced this ride goes down a lot. I'm not a Disneyland native, so I'm not sure. But usually when lightning lanes are super long, it means the ride is going down. And so we got in line for the lightning lane. We waited 30 minutes. We got up to the front. They kind of put us in our little, you're going to go into this room. And we waited. And waited and waited. And there was a crack in the door. So we could kind of see that the ride wasn't moving. And then after 15 minutes, they come over and they're like, yeah, your ride's broken. So we're going to move you to this other one. And at this point, Cameron's like, I really need to use the restroom. I don't know if I'm going to be able to wait. Because we had already been waiting probably 40 minutes. So they move us to another room and we wait and we wait and wait. And so he actually had to get out of line. He's like, I don't know where they're going to let us on. And I really need to use the restroom, which was such a bummer. That was so disappointing. I felt so bad for him that he was going to miss this ride because we were all really looking forward to riding it. But even the lightning lane was so backed up. I told him we should just ask if you can ride it again. He's like, I don't even care. It's definitely not worth it. Even after he left, we still probably waited a good 10, 15 minutes. So yeah, he never would have made it. So we waited almost an hour for this ride with our lightning lane. I can't even imagine the people who don't have lightning lane waiting for this ride. We got on it. It's the old Tower of Terror. So it's a drop ride, but it's a little bit different. You're looking for Baby Groot, I think. And there's I can barely remember. It's Rocket is the main guy. And we're trying to help him find baby Groot because he's lost in this big building. But then there's these monsters trying to get baby Groot. And they play this like monster song that's like this hardcore heavy metal. That's like the Monsters After Dark version of it. The queue, like kind of stepping back a second, but the queue going up to this ride was really neat. The way they redid the Tower of Terror to really kind of totally change it. Like you really never would have realized what was there before if you didn't know. But back to the ride itself. So if you've rode the Tower of Terror before, you know, you're like in an elevator, and when you get to, they like take you up to a floor, and then when you get there, the elevator kind of moves forward. This was totally different. Like we never moved forward. They kind of, I feel like you go up and you drop right away. Like they zoom you up and then you drop. And then they zoom you up and you drop. And then the doors open and there's like a screen where you see Rocket and Baby Groot, and there's like this big fire monster. And so it was just kind of like a combination of dropping and the screen, and then the dropping and the screen. It was cool. Like it was a fun ride. Just personally, I love the Tower of Terror. It is one of my favorite rides. And so this ride was just okay for me. Like when we got, even all of us, we were just like, man, that was okay. We all really just prefer the Tower of Terror. And we were getting off and Cameron was like sitting outside and I felt so bad. But again, we were like, it wasn't that great. Like it was fine. I think the regular version is probably better because they play like music from the soundtrack, which I just love the Guardian soundtrack. But this like heavy metal monster song, I just wasn't connected to it at all. It just wasn't doing it for me. This ride was just okay for me. And I would never, ever, ever, ever wait as long as we did or longer for it. I would never ride this ride without a lightning lane because to me, in my opinion, it is just not worth it. So this is when we decided to go ahead and eat. And this is just another fantastic thing about Disneyland is everything's so close together. So we left the park and we walked through downtown Disney and we got over to the restaurant and it had a crazy long line, like all the way down the side of the restaurant. But at this point, it's a Sunday evening on a holiday, weekend. We knew that everywhere was going to be busy. So we got in line. Part of our group, the other family, they just did not want to wait in line. So they decided to go back to Earl of Sandwich and get a sandwich because when we had walked by Earl of Sandwich, there was nobody there. But unfortunately, by the time they got back, it was like really, really crowded and there was a long line there as well. One of the workers at the restaurant came out and, was kind of asking like, how many in your party? So we told him that there were 6 of us. And then we were like, so how long is this wait? Because this line's really long. And he's like, oh, it's like probably 20 minutes. And so we're like, well, that's not bad. And he was so funny. He's like, you would not believe how many people like yell at me that they have to wait 20 minutes. And he goes, and I just want to tell them, how long have you been waiting for rides all day? Which was a great perspective. The name of the restaurant was Black Tap Craft Burgers and Shakes. And it was over in the downtown Disney district area. A couple of us got the All-American burger. It was very, very good. These burgers were delicious. Cameron got the Wagyu Steakhouse burger. He loved it. He actually ranked it as one of the best burgers he's ever had. And then Asher got the chicken tenders, and that's like his thing. And he said they were the best chicken tenders he's ever had. So we really enjoyed this restaurant. Even after, they're also famous for like their milkshakes. They have these giant milkshakes. We did not get any of those, but even after we ordered, you just kind of go sit down and we didn't really wait that long for our food at all. It was definitely worth it. It was so, so delicious. We had met up with our friends after that and our plan was for all of us to go back to California Adventure, but they have a younger son. And so he was tired and they were tired. And so their 2 oldest kids ended up staying with us, and then the 3 of them went back to their room. They said that Earl of Sandwich was not that good. They kind of didn't have a great experience and were a little bummed they didn't stay for the good burgers. But So after this, we decided to go back to California Adventure. And at this point, we were even thinking about after we leave California Adventure at 10 to go back over to Disneyland Park. I personally would have totally wanted to do that, but I wanted to see how the rest of our family was going to be like holding up at that point. So we went back into California Adventure. On our way over to the Avengers ride, I mobile ordered Amelia the Donald candy corn sipper because she really wanted that for one of her souvenirs. And I mobile ordered that from Award Wieners, which was kind of on the way. It was super easy. Just literally ordered it, walked up and grabbed it. Then we went over and we did web slingers. We had a lightning lane for it. And so we checked into that and pretty much walked onto it. Again, we just really enjoyed this ride. The people who had not rode it before with us, like Cameron, Asher, and then the other two kids, they loved it as well. It was so much fun. We had a great time. We got off this ride and Aiden really, really, really wanted to ride Toy Story Mania. So we looked at the wait time and it was only 20 minutes. And this was the lowest I had ever seen it. So we took off speed walking over there to hop on the ride because the park was getting close to closing. We ended up stopping in San Francisco and Cameron grabbed a beer right before it was that, they were closing. Like they literally served him a beer and then they shut down. World of Color was going off at this point, so we kind of got to see part of it. We just decided not to watch the nighttime shows because I personally would have wanted to, but the people I was traveling with, they're just not big nighttime show watchers. And so it was kind of like majority rules, and I was fine with missing it. While I do enjoy it, I don't want to watch it with people who don't really want to be there. And so we kind of walked by and saw World of Color. It was really cool looking. We got back to Toy Story Mania. It still said 20-minute wait. The line was very short. We hopped in line. I think we were on the ride in 10 minutes, and then we got off the ride and it was 10 o'clock, so the park was closing down. But this is where it got very, very interesting. So while it's 10 o'clock and the park is closing down, there are still people going back to the rides, people dressed in full-on Halloween costumes. And I had known that the first Oogie Boogie Bash wasn't until the 5th. So I was really confused what was going on with all these people. And Cameron stopped to use one of the restrooms and the lady was like, "Oh, you can't use this restroom unless you have a wristband." And so I start looking around and all these people are wearing wristbands. Now they didn't say Oogie Boogie Bash. They were just black and white wristbands with a date and time on it. So there was some kind of event going on at this park. It was after hours event. I don't know if it was like a private event. I don't know if it was like a cast member event or something, but there was something going on after hours that wasn't on the calendar because the park was really, really packed. They were going to be doing another showing of World of Color for this event. So there were people crowded everywhere around the water as we were trying to leave. Getting out of the park was really, really hard because it was so crowded. As we're getting out, we see a trolley car kind of coming towards us, and Donald was in it all dressed up, and he looked so cute, and he was like banging on the window like he's trying to get out. It was hilarious. They also do a really cool like Oogie Boogie show on one of the really tall buildings up in the front that has like bats coming out the windows. That was really neat. We got to see that as we were leaving. And then we left the park. I had gone ahead and looked at wait times over at Disneyland Park to see if it would be worth going over there. But all the rides were an hour wait at 10 o'clock at night. Like I just couldn't believe it. I really wanted to ride Indiana Jones. That is my favorite ride the last time I went to the park. And so I was bummed I hadn't got a chance to ride it, but it was an hour wait. And there were no more Genie Pluses left for anything. And I just knew there was no way, like my family, like I think Asher would have been up for going with me. Aiden had to actually get back to the room to do homework because they ended up missing school to go on this trip. And so he had some homework he had to do. And he probably would have gone with me. But ultimately, I was like, let's just go back to the room. We did what we could do. And we had a great day. It was such a fun day. So we just decided to go back to the room. It took a really long time to get through downtown Disney because it was ridiculously packed because there were still tons of people going over to California Adventure all dressed up in Halloween costumes. So I am very curious what was going on over there. But we finally made it back to the room and we were in bed by, I think it was like midnight. The good thing was our next day was a rest day and kind of a resort pool day, downtown Disney day. We had just decided to sleep in and wake up whenever we did. So I am notorious for waking up early. I cannot sleep in, but I ended up sleeping till almost 9, which is crazy for me, but we were very tired. I mean, Disney tired is a legit type of tired. But when we got up at 9, we just got some coffee, kind of hung out in the room for a little bit. And then we got dressed and decided to just kind of skip breakfast. And just all 10 of us just went over into downtown Disney and decided to just grab lunch somewhere. So we walked into downtown Disney. The security line was very long to get in. And this was Monday. It was Labor Day. This was around 11, I would say. So we just stopped at Tortilla Joe's. It was kind of the first restaurant we came upon. And they could see all 10 of us. Breakfast had just stopped, so I guess it was at 11:30. And we ate there. I got a combo plate with a taco and an enchilada, and it was really good. They did tableside guacamole, which was absolutely delicious. I really liked that, and the chips and salsa were really good. Being from Texas, eating Mexican food other places is really tough because we have such good Mexican food here. So the food at this restaurant, I would say, was really good. It was nothing like what we would get here back at home. Like our Tex-Mex is so delicious. But I do think this would be a great option for families because they have like lots of different options for kids. But if you're not like a Mexican food connoisseur, I think you would really enjoy it because the food was really good. The service did take a while. So we didn't even leave here. It easily was an hour. And yeah, we were a big party, but it easily took an hour. Aiden and Amelia actually had walked down and got pizza from a pizza window that they had opened farther down in downtown Disney and then brought it back to the restaurant. And they said the pizza was delicious. So after the restaurant, we again kind of split up. Everyone had shops they wanted to go to. We stopped in the Lego store and Aiden got some Legos. They had amazing Lego displays there. They have these really cool new Harry Potter ones that are kind of exclusive, they said. But yeah, that was really fun. It's always fun to walk around the Lego store and see what they have. After that, we just walked down through downtown Disney, kind of did a lot of window shopping. We stopped at the Marceline Confectionery. We ended up getting an apple pie caramel apple, a poison apple, a piece of the churro toffee, and then a sugar cookie. These treats were so good. Oh my goodness. The apples were absolutely amazing. It was like the crispest, most delicious apple. So good. And then we got the churro toffee was absolutely amazing. It was probably my favorite dessert treat that we got on the whole trip. I loved it. And then the sugar cookie was really good, just like perfectly cooked. So we kind of grabbed that and we sat and ate that. After that, Cameron and Asher decided to go back to the room. They didn't really want to do much more shopping. I met up with Leah and we went over to the Grand Californian so we could see it. I've been wanting to kind of walk through and see what it looked like in there. I loved the Disneyland Hotel, but to me, the location, it was fine. It wasn't ideal. Like the Grand Californian that location is ideal. And so I was like, I want to go see this hotel because this might be where I want to stay next time. So we walked in. They have entrances right at downtown Disney, and then they have an entrance that goes right into California Adventure, which is really, really cool. The hotel is beautiful. Like it's a craftsman style. It feels kind of like Wilderness Lodge, but like California Wilderness Lodge. Really, really pretty. They had a really beautiful cocoa display in there. We went in the gift shop and it was really nice. Walked around. We saw the pool. We went to, got some coffee at one of the bars. Yeah, it was just really nice. It was a beautiful, beautiful resort. And I would definitely recommend staying here if you have it in your budget, just because the location alone is so great. After that, Leah decided to go back to the room, and me and Amelia walked over to World of Disney because we're crazy. It was really busy, but there was just some things I wanted to look at for my nieces and my nephew, and then myself. So when we were at the Grand Californian, Amelia had picked out this Disneyland hoodie that kind of had Sherpa on the inside. And I really liked it, but I thought I want some kind of new sweater, but I want to go see what else they have. And of course, World of Disney is so awesome and has so many options. So we went over there. I ended up not seeing anything that I loved, and I ended up getting the same hoodie she has. So now her and I have matching hoodies. This was the first time I've ever used mobile checkout because the lines were so long and we were only getting 3 items. So I thought I can probably figure this out. And it's so easy to use. You just go into your Disneyland app. Mobile checkout is an option when you click the little plus button in the middle. Yeah, you just scan your items. It was so easy. It was fantastic. And we were out of there pretty quickly. After that, her and I walked over to the entrance of the parks because she had wanted to get a picture of herself doing like a back bend in front of the castle. We kind of forgot when we were in the parks, and I felt bad, but she forgot as well. And so I said, we can do it like at the entrance. Like that'll be really cool as well. And there definitely was not going to be as many people. So we went over there and did that, and that was really cute. The pictures ended up being super cute, and it was so easy to do because, again, there were not a lot of people going into the parks this time of day, and so it was great. And she also took some pictures of me, which was fun. And then we made our way back to the hotel to go swimming. So Aiden had gone back to the room earlier to go swimming, and around this time he called and asked where we were, and he had gone to the Disneyland Hotel pool. He said it was fine, but with the slide being closed, he just said it was like a regular pool and that the water was freezing cold. So he had kind of spent most of his time over in the hot tub, which he said was nice. But when you are staying at the Disneyland Hotel, if the pool is under construction, you actually are allowed to go over to it was Paradise Pier Hotel, but now it's going to be the Pixar Pier Hotel. You can go over there and use their pool. And this hotel is being completely remodeled, and this pool has just opened not that long ago. And so it's all brand new up there. So we were going to try this out. We were going to see what it was like and if they really let us go over to it. So we walked back to the room. We ended up changing pretty quickly in our swimsuits because we had plans this evening to go to an Angels baseball game. So we didn't have a ton of time. We went down to the lobby of the hotel and asked them, about going to the other pool because they had said they would golf cart you over there. So the line for guest services at the hotel was really long. So we just went out to bell services, and they told us that yes, you can do this. You can either walk over to the hotel or you can go down and ask the lifeguards. So you go to the lifeguards and you tell them that you want to go to the other pool, and they will communicate with the other pool and have someone come pick you up at the back of the Disneyland Hotel. So I looked on my map, and it was like a 10-minute walk over to the other hotel. So we were like, let's just walk. Like, that's not even that far. It's going to take way longer to wait for the whole golf cart situation. So we just walked through the back of the Disneyland Hotel property, back over to the Pixar Hotel. Walked right in. The hotel is so cute. Like it's black and white with bright primary colors. We went in the gift shop there. It's so nice. Like it's so big. I actually stopped and asked someone. So I was like, how do you get to the pool? Because I knew the pool was not on the ground floor. It's like on a rooftop style pool. They were really nice. I was like, we're from the Disneyland Hotel. And they told us we could come over here and swim. And they're like, absolutely. So they showed us where the elevators are. And because this hotel is being completely redone, they're redoing the elevator system. And it's very interesting. So it's this big like keypad on the outside of the elevator. And you push which floor you're going to go to. So when the elevator comes and gets you, it takes you straight to that floor. Like when you get in the elevator, there's no keypads. So we pushed pool and the elevator came and got us and took us to the floor with the pool. The pool here is interesting. So they have a really fun water slide, but the water slide does not empty into the pool. It's just like a freestanding water slide. And then they have this really small rectangle shaped pool. Like for as big as this hotel is, this pool is very small because this hotel isn't even running at 100% and the pool was completely full. And then they have a pretty decent sized hot tub over in the corner. This whole area has been redone. It's absolutely beautiful. The only thing that I was kind of confused about is they have this tile on the ground that is extremely slippery. We almost fell multiple times. Like, I don't know why they put slippery tile at a pool, but they also have this really big splash area for little kids. It's Finding Nemo themed. The slide is like Crush the Turtle from Nemo themed. So we got there and we kind of looked at the pool and we're like, yeah, we don't need to do the pool. We'll just do the slide and the hot tub. So we decided to go ahead and do the slide first. The slide was so much fun. If you've listened to our travel tales from our summer trip, Aiden complains about the Disney slides like hurting his back when he went down. But because the slide has been redone, it did not hurt his back. It was really long and windy, and Crush is like cheering you on as you go down, and it was so much fun. We ended up going on the slide, I think 4 times, and then sat in the hot tub and relaxed for a little bit, and then we went back to our room because it was time to get ready to go to our baseball game. But yeah, and that was kind of the end of our Disney portion of our trip because we went to the baseball game that evening and then the next morning we left very early. We were out of the room by 6 a.m. to catch our flight home. But overall, we had a great trip. It was very quick. Going into this trip, I knew this was not a Disney trip. So I knew we weren't going to have a lot of time at Disneyland. I knew that we would have a day, maybe a day and a half there. And I just needed to make the best of it and do as much as we could. And because, again, we were with the big group, it was just harder to kind of move quickly to rides or, when someone has to go to the bathroom, the whole group has to stop. And with 10 people, I feel like we were constantly looking for bathrooms. Like I remember Sunday evening, right before we were going to get on the last ride, someone had to go to the bathroom and they were like, where's the bathroom? Because I was like the guide person. And I just remember thinking, I am so tired of looking for bathrooms. We have been going to the bathroom nonstop. But that's just what happens when you're traveling with so many people. But yeah, overall, we had a great trip. My least magical moment of the trip is probably just the fact I did not get to do everything that I really wanted to do. I also forgot to mention, I went to go get the pickle corn dog. This was like the one treat I really wanted to try. And it was a 40-minute wait for a corn dog. Like there were so many people waiting for this corn dog. So I just was like, yeah, I'm not waiting 40 minutes for a corn dog. So just the fact that I guess that Genie Plus didn't work the way I thought it was going to work or the way I had heard it was going to work. It just wasn't very efficient for us at all because of the crowds. So just the fact that I didn't get to do the things that I really wanted to do while we were there, but it just gives me an excuse to go back. My most magical moment is definitely the Walt's Main Street Story tour that I took, but also just being at Disney again with my family of 5. We haven't been to Disney together since March of 2021. And just being back there together was so magical. And we had a really fun time. Because it was a short trip, no one had a chance to get in a bad mood. No one was overly tired by allowing the people who wanted to sleep to get to sleep in that Sunday. Like, it was just so much fun. And even my husband, who is not a big Disney fan at all, he had a great time. This was his first time going to the parks and being able to use Genie Plus. So even though, in my opinion, Genie Plus didn't work great, he thought it was great because it did allow us to skip lines for certain rides. And so just being there with everyone was so much fun. And I cannot wait to plan another trip for my family of 5 to go back. Thank you for listening today. I really appreciate you spending your time over here with us, and I hope this was just what you needed to hear today. I'm always looking for new guests for the podcast, so if you are traveling to any Disney park or cruise, see the show notes for more information about being on the show. Visit the show all around the web at DisneyTravelTales.com or find us on Instagram and Facebook at Disney Travel Tales. See pictures from the guests on their vacations. Plus, this is just a great way to stay up to date with all things related to the podcast and Disney travel in general. Join me next week with a brand new episode. So until then, this is Jenny, and may all your Disney travel dreams become a reality.